Welcome to The Unlikely Executive, the podcast where passion meets purpose. Here we share stories of people who have transformed their lives and the world around them by following what truly drives them. I'm Barbara Carlisle, an executive coach and mentor for nonprofits, and I help people who want to make a positive impact actually do it. Let's dive in. So hello and welcome everybody. And today my guest on the podcast is Debbie Rogers, the CEO and founder of Sean's Place. Welcome, Debbie.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell me who you are?
My name's Debbie Rogers. I'm the founder of Sean's Place. I work here full time now, which is amazing. I'm also a mum with 3 children.
And you're Liverpool based?
Yeah, we are based in Liverpool.
Yeah. And can you tell me a little bit about Sean's Place and how it came about?
Sean's Place is named after my brother Sean. He sadly died in 2019. He took his own life because the support that he needed at that time didn't exist. He wanted help. Sean was wanting to get better and he wanted that support, but what he actually needed in his life just didn't exist for men during that time. And I always knew that if Sean had a place he could go to, talk about how he was feeling, to meet other people, have a bit of positive routine, a reason to get out of bed, and just a little bit of hope really that life is worth living. He would still be here today, but when we were trying to find that support when Sean was alive, that there just wasn't anywhere that men could go to have new connections, make friends, and just have a place to go and feel good about themselves, other than the pub, the gym, the football match. So when Sean died, there was a lot of stress and obviously, grief. And I knew that this couldn't be the case, that surely if we created these spaces, men like my brother will come. So I put all of that sort of anger, grief, pain into doing something positive in Sean's memory. And then here we are 5 years later with Sean's Place.
And it sounds like, from what you're saying, that Sean talked about his mental health. So he had his family, he had support within his family, but it wasn't enough. And that there were services that he would have valued and got something from that might have given him hope.
Yeah, Sean has a lot of clinical support. So he was he was under the care of the early intervention team in our NHS, and that support lasts for 3 years. And after 3 years, the patient is discharged. And Sean was coming to the end of that care, which meant that there was no source of support or no plan B in place for him. And I used to say, what happens next? Who's going to be checking on him? Because during that time it was coming to an end, he wasn't okay. He was having thoughts of suicide. He was hearing voices. His anxiety was the worst it had ever been. And he wasn't in a place where he should have been discharged. But even within our NHS, who try the best, to do what they can for patients, there wasn't any aftercare, there wasn't any services that would follow on from that. And that, for me, is still a real danger point in the care that people are receiving. 5 years later, there's a lot of people who are under the care of services, but when that comes to an end, it's the what next. But now, here we are 5 years later, and we now work in partnership with Merseycare, who are our NHS provider, and we are that what next for those patients. So we have a partnership with Merseycare, so when people are getting discharged, they can now come to Sean's Place and we continue that support for them.
Wow. And so do you find that people take that up? Or do you feel there's still like a bit of a stigma around, acknowledging because Sean's Place is a space in Liverpool where you do group work as well as one-to-one work. So do you get a sense that there's hesitancy when people are leaving one system, because yours isn't a system, yours is a service? Do you get a sense that people are reluctant to come?
Yeah, on the whole, most people are really thankful that there's something else, because they do want that and they're really anxious about not having any support in place. So knowing that there is something is really reassuring to them and their families. We work really hard with the teams to help them to understand who we are, what we can do and how we can support their patients so that they can relay that message clearly to them. I think now there's far less stigma around access and support. I think post-COVID, with celebrities talking about the mental health and social media and, people acting as ambassadors for charities, it's become a lot more sort of accessible for people and a lot more normal to talk about how we're feeling and get that support in place. So we've seen our referrals go from about 75 a week 3 years ago to now nearly 400 men every single week coming through our doors.
Wow. And how can you make sure that the men get what they want when they come in? What is it that you offer?
So when we first grew Sean's Place, I knew it was important that there wasn't a one size fits all approach because that is sort of part of the issue with our NHS, which they will say that that is the case. They have really strict boundaries and procedures and sort of like ways of working. And although they want to be able to bend and adapt and create all these new and exciting programs, that they can't. They're so restricted. So the beauty of the voluntary sector and organisations like Sean's Place is we can adapt and be more person-centred and led by the people who come through our service. So there is hopefully something for everyone here. Everyone has a package of support designed around them and what they need, what they're going through right now, what they're looking for out of Sean's Place, and we try and create a service that is right for them at that time.
And so give me a little bit of information. What is that service? Is it, art classes? Is it therapy? What can people expect when they come?
Yeah, it's all of those things really. So we have two sort of parts of Sean's Place. We have a therapeutic side and we have almost like a social support side. So we offer one-to-one counselling, we have bereavement support, we offer hypnotherapy, we have therapy groups that they can access as well, and we offer CBT. So all of that
and
is
CBT is what, Debbie? Sorry for people.
Sorry, cognitive behavioural therapy. So that looks at the relationship between our thoughts and our actions, and everything else is designed to reduce symptoms of anxiety, depression, grief, stress. But that's not right for everybody. Some people come in here because they want to make friends. They don't really have a reason to get out of bed, something to feel good about themselves. So we offer loads of social activities as well. And we open from 9 in the morning till 8 at night every day. We're just about to start opening Saturday mornings too. And they can tap into things like mindfulness, yoga, fitness classes, art classes, bike riding, walking groups, angling. Trying to think of everything
Oh
that we
my
do, but
goodness.
there really is a whole timetable of activities. Some people prefer to come overnight, like on a Monday evening, for example, after work, they'll come to our mindfulness session, or on a Friday night, they'll come to our coffee and connect and have a game of pool and a cup of tea and, socialise with the friends. And others prefer just to one-to-one support. And we will always try and plan, that package of support around them and what they need.
And the support is free for the user.
Yeah, completely free of charge.
Yeah. And just to be clear, is it only referrals from Merseycare and other associated health sector professionals who come to you, or can anybody walk in?
Yeah, so anybody can access the support as long as they can travel to us regularly. We will accept a referral. And they can self-refer online. In fact, 85% of our referrals are self-referrals where men have, found out about us through like the doctor or social media and wanted to get involved. We do ask for the referral form just so we can make sure this is the right and the best place to support them and we can meet their needs. What we don't want to do is set someone up to fail or, to bring somebody in and promise them the world and then we can't meet their needs. So that's why we ask for the referral form. But once that's been completed and received, they get a call from us within 24 hours, obviously to say thank you for taking that first step and book them in for a welcome call with one of our therapists. And that's when their journey starts, then planning that package of support.
Wow, a totally different model to the sort of waiting game that unfortunately the NHS has had to live by at the minute. It's you cutting down waiting times for people who are not in a particularly mentally well place.
Our goal isn't to say we can do this better than the NHS. Like what we do is complement what they do and we work in partnership and like we're both so proud of that partnership because it's working. It's preventing men from having to sit in the A&E waiting room on a Saturday night because they don't know where else to turn to. Because if you've ever been to A&E recently, it's so not the place that you want to go to if you're struggling with your mental health. But for those who don't necessarily need clinical interventions like the NHS, that they will be able to tell them about Sean's Place and send them here and just cut out that awful waiting period that they have at the moment.
Brilliant. And is there a time limit on how long people can access your service?
No, we've still got people here who have come to our very first open day, like 5 years ago. And as long as we can still meet their needs and they're happy and they're comfortable here, they can stay here for as long as they need to.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to ask you about your team, Debbie, because if you're offering, I heard angling, I think it was fishing, mindfulness, how do you get a team around you that can meet all the service users' needs?
We've always been so lucky that we've had amazing people around us who are skilled in what they do. So they might be, a qualified mindfulness teacher, or they might be really good at art, and they've always offered their skills, which has been fantastic. And initially everyone used to do it, voluntarily because they just wanted Sean's place to work. But over time, we've been able to apply for funding so that we can offer them, a payment for their services, which means that we get to keep really good quality people for longer. So we have 9 members of staff in Sean's place who are full time and keep everything moving. We have about 20 volunteers at the moment, and then we have sessional staff who come in and deliver some of the activities that people know and love here. It's been difficult. It's been a real challenge trying to find the right team. And sadly, you do lose staff as well who are, got ambitions of their own that, they want to go on to achieve. So that's always really difficult. But the team that we have now feels right. They're here because they genuinely care about what they do. And I don't think I could do this on my own. Well, I certainly couldn't do it on my own.
It doesn't sound like you could do it on your own, no. Debbie. I know you're resourceful, but
it does take an army to make this work, and my team are absolutely incredible at what they do.
Yeah, and the space itself is an inclusive space, isn't it? It's easy for people to get into, and it's calming when you go in there. So yeah, definitely got the right environment. And how many, you say 400 through the door a week?
Yeah.
That's an incredible amount of people that you're supporting on a week by week basis. And when I think about managing that and, the fact that it's set up through something that you've personally experienced. So you're offering a whole raft of stuff, and the reason you set it up was because of the loss of your brother. How do you manage to keep the two separate, the personal feelings around the loss of a brother and managing a team who are delivering amazing things for people like your brother?
I don't know if I do keep them separate, to be fair. Sometimes it's really difficult emotionally, because when I look at Sean's face, I just have to stand back and go, wow, if this existed, he would still be here. So sometimes it can be really bittersweet. But everything that I know was a help Sean, and everything he loved, the things that would have saved his life. When I reflect on that, although it's painful to do so, it just keeps a fire in my belly to make sure that we keep doing better, we keep doing more, we keep speaking to the guys who are coming through the door and making sure that we're serving them and what they need from us. So I think Sean's Place is quite unique, as in many charities, because we do have that personal lived experience, and it just makes us want to do better constantly. We never rest on our laurels. We never sit back and, go, wow, aren't we amazing? Because there's always more that we can be doing.
Mm-hmm. And when you started, in a period of grief, and you said anger and frustration when your brother died, how could you begin to think of setting something up? What was the first sort of thoughts that you had around, I'm going to do something different, and the steps that you had to take to begin to make Sean's Place a reality?
I couldn't do it again. If you asked me to do it today, I don't think I'd have the energy. But I think back then, when Sean died, there was like a major investigation into his death because there was missed opportunities, and there was an inquest, an Article 2 inquest, and I just found myself in this sort of like whirlwind of paperwork and, meetings and court cases. It was horrendous. So for me, it was probably a little bit like my therapy or my recovery was doing Sean's place and bringing something positive out of this, because Sean was so, he was my best mate, and there was no way I was just going to let that be the end of his life, and or the end of, our partnership, if you like, as brother and sister. I wanted to make sure that people knew that something good should come from this. And I didn't want anyone else to have to go through the pain that my family were going through. It just doesn't feel fair that, because there's nowhere that people can go to, this is how it's going to be forever. So I sort of thought, if I don't do it, who is? Is this always going to be the way? I had a lot of people tell me that it wasn't going to work. A lot of people, they probably tried and it didn't work. So they were trying to say to me, don't waste your time. Men won't come to this. We tried it. It didn't work. But I had that fire in my belly that wasn't going away. And we gave it a go. And initially we did pilot days. We invited men in from the community, and we just put on things that I knew that Sean would have loved, just to see if other men felt the same way, really, and if that was something that they thought might help them. And our pilot days, they were so popular. We had like 15 guys come in on our first day, and
Wow.
one was really emotional, crying, saying to us, "Where have you been my whole life? I've been looking for something like this." And he was like in his late 70s, early 80s. If he'd have had that support earlier on in his life, he may never have struggled until he was at that age. So I knew then this was going to work, but I didn't think it was going to be what it is today. It feels like a fully functional organisation now.
It just feels like a fully functioning organisation. It is a fully functioning organisation.
It just feels really surreal that, we're fully operational. We've got an amazing team. We're in partnership with the NHS. We get grant funding to provide our services. I'm just so glad that I didn't give up in the beginning, and that all that fire and that sort of pain was put to good use.
Yeah. And in terms of your strengths that you've drawn on, what might they be to make it work?
I think whenever I've ever done anything, I've always given it 100%. Like, I would never get myself into something if I didn't think I could be amazing at it. I graduated university a week before Sean died. Sean was at my graduation, and he was laughing. He was like, "Why can you not just graduate like everyone else?" Because I got my degree. I got a really good grade in my degree, which was like my goal when I started. I was like, I'm not leaving without a first. And I was a mature student. I was 30 when I went to uni, but then I got like an award for volunteering within the university. I got like different accreditations, which was amazing. But I was a bit of a teacher's pet. But I knew I was, and I thought, I'm not going to go into university at 30 unless I'm going to be giving my all. And I've always sort of had that mentality, and my kids have that as well, where we're all quite competitive, like with ourselves. So I knew when I started Sean's place, I'm not going to do this unless I'm going to give this a really good go. I had to dive into it 100% or not do it at all. And that's sort of my mentality. Like, everything has to be amazing. Everything has to be the best it can be. We're providing service to vulnerable adults here. This could be the last time they reach out for help. It could be the first time they reach out for help. And if we get that wrong, that could be really, a potential risk for that person. So when they walk through this door, I want them to have the best experience and, a feeling that they're in the right place.
You can't always guarantee that your service will be the thing that lights somebody up, and failure is part of running a business that's trying to support diverse people coming through the door. So how do you cope or manage when something doesn't quite go right?
Probably not very well, is the honest answer. We were laughing about this yesterday. We were talking about change. And I said, if I was to write my CV or a job application, I'd be like, I embrace change. I support change. Actually, I hate it. I hate change. And I'm not very good, should we say, at coping well with failures. But I'm getting better. I am getting better, because I don't see them as failures anymore. I see them as a learning opportunity. And I think when things go wrong, as long as you reflect on it, you see where you went wrong, and you take steps to improve it for the next time, or to adapt if you need to, then it's not a failure. It's a learning opportunity. And I think having that mentality now does help me to cope much better. Whereas I used to take a lot of things personal, feel like I was letting people down, or I'd not done my best, or we'd not done our best as a service. As you say, although we do try our best, we're not always going to be right for everybody. But what we can do is try and find something that is right for them in the community if it's not here.
Yeah. And who do you have as support around you, Debbie?
I have you. You are my coach. I've got an amazing group of people who are on my board as well, who are not just board members, they are my therapists, they are my sort of like advisors, and I do feel very supported by them. And I've got, as I said, I've got my team. We do lean on each other. We're a very close team who look after each other, and that includes me. They look after me as much as I look after them. And I've got my husband and kids. I've got a brilliant work-life balance now that I didn't have for many years when I was setting up Sean's place, but the last 12 months in particular, because of, the team that I have, I'm able to go home, switch off and just be me and, spend really quality time with my family, which then enables me to be better when we come into Sean's place and, have that energy and almost like headspace that you need to be able to do something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that compartmentalizing that comes naturally can only be beneficial because I know your children are still at school, so it's not like they're totally rational yet and understand how you might feel. So, it's that ability to be present for your children that is motivating so that the next day you can be present and for your team as well. Can I ask, before Sean's place, you said that you were a graduate. What were you doing? Were you a full-time student before you started Sean's place, or were you in work?
Yeah, so I both. I was working full time in a school. I've always done admin in schools. I loved working in a school. Loved the holidays, miss them. But as I say, like I always wanted to make my kids proud, and I did an MVQ in business admin, and I smashed it. And I said to the teacher who we got on with, said, "Well, so what next?" He was like, "Well, you can go to uni." I was like, "Really?" I'm like 13. He was like, "Yeah, you can go to uni." So I found a part-time business and HR degree, and so I signed up to that, and then I did that for 4 years, and I just loved it. Loved every aspect of studying, learning, and just really like working, like to just create a better life really for the kids. I would have gone back and done my masters straight after, but as I say, Sean sadly died a week after I graduated, and then this ended up being the most amazing sort of learning experience I could ever have ventured on, really.
Yeah, and do you think that the course that you did has supported you as a leader today? You say it was management,
Yes.
business management and HR.
Yeah, it was business and HR. I never thought I'd do anything with it. I only went because they let me in. I didn't think I was ever going to do anything with it. So I think that's why I just embraced it. I was just like, this is great. I'm in university. But then because I'd built a really good relationship with the teachers and I was a mature student and I had some life experience as well, I did soak up everything they told me. I just never knew at the time. Quite emotional when I think of it. I never knew at the time why I would need it. At the time I was doing it, never ever envisioned how much my life would change overnight and that those things that I was learning would create, a legacy for Sean one day. I wish I'd have listened a bit harder in some of the modules. Probably the
Do not
finance
take
ones
notes,
wasn't really
Debbie.
helpful. Yeah. Probably should have listened a little bit harder in some of them, but no, I think definitely that sort of set me up for what the path was going to lead me to, really.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that, Debbie. And coming towards the end, I want to ask you, what would you like people to take away from today's conversation?
I think it's probably the wrong person to give advice, like and me from our sessions, but I think it's just to not let other people let you doubt yourself. When Sean's place started, I knew that it would work, but in the beginning, I did have knocks from, others who didn't believe in what I was wanting to do, didn't believe in me and my ability to do it. And I think on another day, that could have put me off doing it. But as I say, I just lost my brother and there was no way anyone was going to stop me. So I think if you believe in something and you know it's going to work and, it's going to benefit others because of what you're trying to do, just go for it. The worst thing that will happen is that it won't work. And the best thing that happens is you'll go on to save people's lives. So just always give it a go.
Always give it a go. And with a smattering of Debbie, resilience and determination in there, if you can do that. And if people want to get in touch with Sean's Place or you, Debbie, how might they do that?
So our website is seansplace.org.uk. You can visit there and that'll tell you a little bit more about what we do, as well as our social media pages, and you can contact us through there as well.
Excellent. Debbie, thank you so much for sharing your story and telling us all about Sean's Place. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in to The Unlikely Executive. If today's conversation sparked a new idea, inspired a shift, or gave you the nudge to step into your purpose, embrace it and take action. Remember to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss opportunities that can transform the way you lead, work and live your life. I'm Barbara Carlisle, Executive Coach, Mentor and Trainer. You can find my details in the show notes, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about the show and about your own journey. Until next time, take that step to be more authentically you, live your purpose, and enjoy making a positive impact.